Sonic Rush!
You know, when I usually think of Sonic games, I usually think of the main ones. You know, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, Sonic 3D Blast, Flicky's Island.
What is that?
But usually the ones that I overlook are the Nintendo DS games, and one of these games is Sonic Rush. I don't usually hear a lot about this game, but when I do, it's usually good things, so I thought that it's finally time that I try it out and see if it truly is a hidden gem. The game starts off with no cutscene and just gets right into it. And right away you can see that it's kind of similar to the 2D classic Sonic games. And I don't just mean, you know, because it's 2D. It follows a similar 3-act structure with, you know, first act, the second act, and a boss at the end of every zone. And of course, special stages.
No! Fuck!
We'll talk about these later. But what makes this game unique is...
Woo!
Yeah, Sonic has the boost in this game. And I think this is the first game that introduced the boost, at least in the way that we usually know it as. And that alone makes this game pretty important to the series.
Swag, baby!
And this game also has a trick system, sort of like the one in Generations. You know, you do some cool ass moves, so you like build up your boost meter.
Cool.
And the combination of this alongside the boost makes the gameplay pretty cool. It sort of makes this game feel like a classic Sonic game, but with the modern Sonic moveset. And it just makes this game a lot of fucking fun once you get like a rhythm going. Also, I love Sonic's little breakdance here. But anyways, let's get into the boss fights. This game has pretty standard Sonic boss fights. You know, you dodge an attack, you counterattack enough times, and you kill them. And of course, every boss has their own little gimmick to make them stand out from each other. And some of them are pretty cool. But these bosses have the same problem of, you know, having to wait until you can counterattack. But that's just standard Sonic boss stuff. It's not that big of a deal.
NANI?
Hello, motherfucker.
Okay, I guess now is a good time to talk about this game's story. So basically Sonic and Blaze's universe are coming together because Eggman stole the Soul Emeralds, which are basically Blaze's version of the Chaos Emeralds. So now their universes are coming together, which is bad because, you know, multiverse stuff. So now Blaze is here, who's basically her universe's version of Sonic, and also
Eggman nigga! What?
who's basically Blaze's universe version of Eggman. So the two Eggmans team up because they want to build a multiversal Eggman land.
Huh?
Yeah, pretty standard Sonic story stuff. It's nothing too crazy. So now we have to get the Soul Emeralds and the Chaos Emeralds to stop them. And speaking of the Chaos Emeralds, let's talk about these special stages. Oh boy. These special stages are kind of similar to the ones in Sonic 2, because, you know, they got the little half pipe thing going on. And they also have like cool new additions like bumpers and dash pads and like little quick time events. But the thing about these special stages is,
Ow!
they're pretty fucking hard. And I don't mean that they're hard because they don't work. I mean they're actually just hard. They are literally just that difficult.
What the fuck?
And you can really tell that these stages were not meant to be played with anything other than a DS stylus. These shits feel almost like humanly impossible at some parts. But eventually, with enough save state spamming and, you know, a lot of pausing, yeah, it's cheating. What the fuck are you gonna do about it, huh? Eventually, if you didn't break your DS yet, you will get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. And what do you get for collecting all 7 Chaos Emeralds? Nothing. Yeah, you can't turn into Supersonic mid-level, which is super disappointing, but you do need them to unlock the final story, so it's not a complete waste of time. But anyways, let's finally talk about this game's levels. The levels do a pretty good job of balancing, you know, basic platforming with the modernish style of Sonic gameplay. And of course, every level has their own little unique gimmicks that make them stand out from one another. Like, some of these have these sort of Sonic Unleashed type of rooms where you get trapped until you beat all of the enemies. And they kind of slow down the pacing, but it is pretty cool that it's something different. But one of the coolest things about this game is that since it's on the DS, they make a lot of use of the dual screens. And they set up these really cool set pieces where you have to look at both screens to, you know, get the full picture. And I really like that. So yeah, the levels in this game are pretty cool. Except for altitude limit. Fuck this level. Okay, I think I've gone a little too long without talking about this game's probably one of the best parts of this game, its soundtrack. This game's soundtrack was composed by Hideki Naganuma, the same person that composed the Jet Set Radio soundtrack. Lethal League Blaze, Sneak Man, and yeah, you could tell, this man produces nothing but bangers, and this game's soundtrack was no exception, because every track in this game is an absolute fucking banger.
Yeah!
Okay, I guess now we should talk about how Blaze fits into all of this. So like I said, Blaze is basically from another dimension and is that universe's Sonic. And she was brought here because Eggman stole the Soul Emeralds from her dimension. So her story is basically just trying to get all the Soul Emeralds from Eggman. She also befriends Cream, who we see a lot of in this game. And the same thing with Blaze, and that's one thing that I really like about this game. Prior to playing this game, I didn't really pay much attention to Blaze. I mean, I always thought she was cool and everything, but she was usually just there. Sometimes she was Silver's babysitter, and other times she's just an NPC. But this is the first ever game where she was introduced, and she gets a lot of development. She starts off as being like the complete opposite of Sonic, and then, you know, slowly throughout the game she learns more about the power of friendship and why it's really good. And she's just a pretty well written character. She really went from like a character that I didn't really care about to being probably one of my favorite Sonic characters. But now let's talk about her gameplay. So of course, being Sonic's counterpart, she shares a lot of similarities between her and Sonic's gameplay. You know, she's got the boost, she goes really fast, and her boost looks really cool. She gets like engulfed in this little aura of flames, and when she jumps she makes like a little fire tornado. And I'm not sure if she's slower than Sonic, you can't really tell, but even if she is, she makes up for it with her aerial movement. Although Sonic also has a double jump, Blaze's double jump, it goes like really fucking high, and hers basically makes it a lot easier to get to like secret alternate routes in the levels. And she also has this super helpful hover ability that pretty much saves your ass if you mess up on something. So yeah, she's not too different from Sonic, but it's the slight modifications that make her gameplay just a little bit more unique and that make playing as her just as fun.
How's that?
So at the end of both stories, both Sonic and Blaze end up at the same spot with the same goal of trying to beat Eggman. But Blaze gets really mad because she doesn't want Sonic's help and she wants to fight him because it'd be cool to have the two fight.
You stupid.
So, you know, they battle it out and they get into this little Dragon Ball Z fucking Dragon Rush clash. And you don't really have to break your fingers to win this or anything, but in the moment, this feels really fucking intense. And they did a really good job of portraying that, because I was breaking my fingers on this.
Have a nice ball, you stupid bitch.
After they fight, Sonic and Blaze, you know, they make out. They finally team up to stop both Eggmans, and each one uses their respective universe's emeralds to turn into Super Sonic and Burning Blaze. And damn, Burning Blaze has such a cool fucking design. And they fly up into the final boss to fight the Exception. The final boss is kind of like a Sonic 3 style boss fight, with, you know, Super Sonic avoiding boulders and obstacles trying to get to Eggman, and the way to damage him is to throw his projectiles back at him. And the really cool thing is that when you hit him enough times, he switches over to Eggman Nega, and then you switch over to Blaze and, you know, she fights her Eggman. It's super cool. And instead of boosting, Blaze has this cool ass fireball Hadouken, and then, you know, you hit them enough times and they switch back and forth. It's nothing too crazy, but I do think it is one of the better boss fights in the series. And I can't gloss over the song that plays during this. This song literally uses a fucking Malcolm X sample, and it makes it sound fucking good. It actually slaps. I can't think of any other game that does that.
Take this.
So the two Eggmans are dead. Sonic and Blaze, you know, they shake hands, they call it a day, they say goodbye, for now at least, because, you know, Blaze obviously shows up a few times in later games, even though after this game, Blaze's story, it gets kind of confusing, because in 06 she's from the future, I guess? So yeah, pretty happy ending. And that is basically Sonic Rush. And yeah, for a DS game, I was not expecting it to be this good of quality. You know, of course it does have its flaws, like sometimes you'll run into some cheap deaths here and there. It's kind of cheap how both Blaze and Sonic go through the exact same levels. It would have been a little bit better if they were slightly altered a little bit, but the good things from this game just significantly outweigh the bad. The game is really fun once you get a rhythm going. You know, it's basically like a classic Sonic game, but with modern Sonic's moveset. You know, the controls feel good, the levels are fun, most of them at least. The music, oh my god, the music. I don't need to say anything else about the music, and the story is pretty solid. So yeah, overall, for a game that I don't really hear a lot of, I would say that Sonic Rush is indeed a hidden gem.